Well, first of all, Alex, I've never had so many insiders trying to get the attention of the American people as in the last probably 2 weeks. Number one, let's go to the bottom line. The bottom line, there has never been a 40 million person evacuation of any country in any drill ever. I'll go on record saying this is not a drill. This is the pre-placement of a population. Now, people have got to understand something. I used to write about Russian war doctrine. Civil defense is an integral part of their plan to both survive a nuclear war and thrive after nuclear war. The population of Moscow is 12 million, so they have just basically moved close to 3 times the population of Moscow. Every subway, every underground Cold War bunker, Yamato, the mountains in the Urals, everything is on a feverish pace. When you put frontline weapons into Syria, when you put frontline weapons bordering NATO, when multiple times the Russians have demonstrated their...
And by the way, I hate to interrupt you. I'm going to give you the floor, and I'm going to skip this break. It's so important. But Steve Quayle, I remember you saying 20 years ago, it just hit me when you said it, when the Russians move large populations out of their cities, which they've never done, that is a sign that they're preparing for nuclear war. And they, for the first time ever, they just did a drill of 40 million. We can't get 2 million out of the East Coast. Imagine how big that was and how pre-planned that was. Are you saying they actually stayed outside?
Well, here's the thing. It is not just a drill. And Alex, the thing that everyone's missing is China embarked on the same policy also. So the fact is that understand this. Understand a nuclear ultimatum. Let's say someone shoots the first missile, okay? The minute they make the first launch, then all hell breaks loose. But at some point, what happens when 6 cities in America, I'm just taking that arbitrary, 6 to 13 cities in America, that's not arbitrary, disappear, and quite candidly, the rest of the population is at risk. See, this is insane. Americans who are listening to this from all over the world, this is a part of war doctrine. They can shield 1/3 to 1/2 of their population. There is no shielding for the American population. Alex, you and I did the show on the Deagle survey where they said at some point 65 million people are left. But
we have no COG for local government and the citizens. It's all for the elite. Right, Russia has it for their citizens.
Right, and we have multitudes in the hundreds of thousands of foreign UN troops here, and we're looking at a bunch of, I would say this, Democrats and Republican slime that think that World War III is basically a video game with a reset. And this is the total globalist nightmare to take down the Western world and pretty much the entire world to bring about their globalist reign and rule of Antichrist, one world government, one world religion, and one world currency. So right now, what we're seeing, and by the way, the weathers that are going on, the weather warfare that's taking place on the East Coast with the skull, I think that's the mockery of the Illuminists, because obviously you've spent a lifetime doing all your videos on the skull and bones and everything that's attributed to the globalists. So what we're seeing right now is a scaling up. Even Vitaly Shurkin went to the UN saying, back off, you guys, back off, you guys. I'll tell you one thing about Russia, and since I've written about their generals, I pay attention to what they say. I don't dismiss them like some Pentagon analyst or some general who's puffing up his breast. First of all, Russia can penetrate all our stealth capabilities. They've demonstrated before. Second of all, we can't do their stealth capabilities because they have a plasma absorption screen, which means that any signal sent at any frequency is automatically absorbed and does not feed back to the transmitter identifying its location. Remember, Alex, you and I did a show talking about, and you've done so many on your own, about talking about when the Russian MiGs, old technology, flew over our aircraft carriers and the pilots went inverted and flipped off the guys on the flight deck. And they did it numerous times. The Donald Cook, which was, forced to 3 times. I think it's not, I said 2. It's 3 times.
Sure, and Chinese subs popping up behind the submarines. We're clearly being set up. It's just like a lot of other people have broken down the fact that they're trying to lure them into an attack to actually take out their enemy, the American people, our local governments, and our state governments. The globalists can't bring down America, so they want a war to finally bring it down, then say all of us that are patriots against NAFTA, against GATT, against the EU, for Brexit, we're now Russian agents. It's perfect. And you heard the general say, you're a Russian agent, basically, if you're for the Brexit or the breakup of the EU, and we'll get you. He's telling that to Donald Trump, basically.
Absolutely, and they have a lot of Hellfire missiles. I want to explain something, how this will play out, because it's not just the tanks, the armored personnel carriers, all of the stuff you see on the trains across the country. We have a vast amount in underground tunnels, bases, and deep underground military bunkers, a vast amount of helicopters loaded with Hellfire missiles. So everything you have watched in the Middle East is what they plan to use here. The U.S. military has the doctrine yard farming. That means they're going against us. So they're provoking Russia. And I can tell you this, Russian policy, every single general that's ever quoted, Medvedev, Putin, obviously, President Putin, they all have, how do they say this, reserve first strike capability. Even our nuclear war doctrine has changed. But the problem is when you have an entire military Congress, I'm talking about the U.S., all of our battle-hardened generals, admirals have been fired, dismissed, or basically embarrassed out of their positions. The U.S. military is suffering intentional, and I'm saying this, cutoffs of ammunition. There's even cases where the Navy pulls into Hong Kong or Singapore, and they're not allowed to fuel their boats with any form of treasury instrument or anything. They have to produce either silver or gold. And that's a real, true story. So here's where we're at. We're at the escalation point. My number one goal is to warn the people as best as I can when all of the airborne command and control centers are up, the E-6s, the 747s, all the AWACS planes are up, all our sub-hunters are up.
The Doomsday planes.
The Doomsday planes. That's never happened before. The thing that people ought to recognize is the Twitter feed coming out of the Russian embassy. If you hear the Russian embassy is vacating or even they're threatening, then you know this thing is on. By the way, Pearl Harbor, from the time the Japanese broke off negotiations, I don't think most people recognize this. It was actually 30 minutes. 30 minutes.
I know they started pulling out quickly, but yeah.
Yep. But the deal is, what I'm saying is we're the ones that broke off. Then you've got Kerry, who's absolutely in another universe, in an alternate space, in, quantum Quagmireville, basically saying that, we got to bring the Russians before the war crimes court. You kidding me?
When our government openly turned jihadis loose all over the world.
Absolutely. And here's what's thinking, here's what people have to be thinking at this point. This is not a normal escalation of words. Stuff is moving. I got emails from Polish.
Well, what do you make of the Russians saying any aircraft enter Syria now we're going to shoot it down? That's a no-fly zone as a response to Obama and Hillary saying we're going to start, looking at shooting down aircraft. The Russians said, okay, let's get it going. I mean, this is just over-the-top insanity.
Well, it's not only that.
Where does Obama think his ESPN's going to go if there's a nuclear war?
Well, I got news for you. It'll be, where do you think the mainstream news is going to go? They'll be in bombed-out rubble platforms with no electricity, looking disheveled, and basically still preaching from their scripts when everything's gone. I mean, look, this is crazy. People have got to understand, I think that you've got to recognize there's never been a time like this. There's never been so much voice and
why is it happening now? Because we know they're getting ready for the economic collapse. We know all these other forces are moving. Why are they starting war with Russia now?
Well, it covers up, number one, it covers up their crimes. Number two, it fulfills the thing that I think everybody's missing. The entire rearrangement of the highest command, the offices of the land, military, civilian population, everybody, they have embraced Islam. Islam demands a world war in order to bring about the Mahdi. And that's the Islamic
And
Messiah.
clearly they've made a deal with Islam, I guess because there's 1.5 billion of them. That's the new operating system because it's so satanic. Have you seen the new video we released with WorldNet Daily of them in Libya chopping up the bodies of soldiers and making people, before they execute them, eat it so they go to hell in a satanic ritual?
Well, I haven't seen that, but, we watched that. Remember, about 6 months ago, they were chopping up Christians and literally hanging their remains in the meat markets. I think it was in Aleppo.
And then Obama and others celebrate this. So this is about the rituals.
It is, and that's something that people have got to understand. This is ritual sacrifice of the planetary population. Look, I used to write about throw weight. This nuclear weapon could do this. The Russians have been building while we've been decreasing in order to facilitate the return of the Mahdi. You remember when Ahmadinejad made this statement, if it was necessary for 30 million Iranians to die and go out as martyrs to bring upon the return of the Mahdi, it would be acceptable to Allah. Well, guess what? He left office pretty much after that because maybe more Muslims than he could imagine didn't want to go that way. But here's the thing. Jeremiah the prophet said, woe unto them who call evil good and good evil. You, Alex, I, all of the people who have been fighting this battle, every single talk show host talking about what's going on, anybody criticizing New World Order, you go on and on and on, constitutionalists, Christians, anti-vaccine people, you're all considered terrorists. Now, what does a terrorist mean? These guys have redefined every single word, and they have basically everything that applies to them. They overwhelm the census. They overwhelm the mainstream.
Sure, they're the
media.
racists they call Donald Trump racist. So what point in history are we right now?
I believe we're at the point that outside of the grace of God, that we're going to see a limited nuclear exchange. And here's what people don't get. The United States can disappear. Mystery Babylon, people fight about that. The United States can disappear, and the rest of the world can come under the rule and reign of Antichrist.
Exactly. Let me expand on this. When you watch, we're going to break, the body language of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, or Army Chief of Staff General Mark Milley, they look freaked out. I mean, they look like they're looking at Congress and they're saying, okay, we're ready for war. We're being told to go to war. And then the adjunct guy behind him is like smiling and nodding like, you guys want a war. They're saying to the globalists, okay, you want a war. Why do we let this little Nazi collaborator, Soros, even walk around outside prison? Why the hell does he get to have a nuclear war so he can be the Messiah?
Well, he's the man that is going to basically be the facilitator. Remember this, these guys are all satanic puppets.
Oh, okay? I know. He said he believes he's the Messiah. Exactly. He wants to bring in the Antichrist. Look, it's totally clear. Let's talk about that. What happens if they're able to have their nuclear war at this time? I know all the trendies are going to like it.
We're on the march.
And then we don't lose anybody. Like the Russians don't respond. There's a level of ignorance, like I said yesterday. Well, look at the congressman still in from Georgia who thinks the islands float. There's such from the entertainment and the movies and everything, people even in government, and folks I talk to that are even, quote, pretty smart, are like brain damaged now. There's like some spirit of like they're sleeping, they're not awake, and they're sleepwalking over the edge of a cliff. I mean, since when did our government openly fund Al-Qaeda and ISIS and overthrow our allies and murder everybody and lie and have child actors in fake TV shows with Hillary, and just the level, the tripling, the quadrupling, the deception, the opening the borders and bringing people in with leprosy and TB and bubonic plague, and the Border Patrol comes on the show. They're so desperate and says, yeah, the head of the Border Patrol in Texas came on and was like, yeah, no, we're not even testing them. It looks like they have cholera or whatever. We just let them in. They're like, we don't know what's going on. It's crazy. I mean, and you're like, well, don't be racist. Well, at least give them treatment. Don't put them in school with your kids to get it. I mean, it seems like a great delusion's come. We're going to go back to Steve Quayle and your phone calls here in just a moment. But, man, our guests say get ready for Deutsche Bank to go over. And when it goes under by the end of the year, then it triggers the next crisis. And now they're saying get ready. And it's like, I don't like being right. I don't like this. And I also don't like the fact that if there is a nuclear war, and we're here in a year from now, and North Korea hasn't nuked, Seoul or Tokyo, which they threaten to do on a weekly basis, and the Clintons gave them the reactors to be able to have the fissile material. That's what I mean. I know the facts. I see evil people pushing in our government to the destruction of the planet. And it makes me mad. And then it makes me mad that generals are saying, we're on the edge of war with Russia. This is dangerous. We should have a serious discussion. And they go, now, General, I don't get that. I said we fire missiles at them, and none of our pilots will get hurt. They go, excuse me, sir, they'll retaliate. Well, I just don't get that. It's like there's some blindness where I guess they just think they waddle into the Capitol. I got a suit and a Cadillac, and they won't fight back. It's like I'm living in an insane asylum. And then they say, I'm crazy. So we're going to go back to Steve Quayle, stevequayle.com here in just a moment. We carry his latest documentary film, in fact, part 1 and part 2. He exposes the Vatican in part 2. We're not anti-Catholic, folks. We're anti what's taking it over. It's taking everything else over, too. Just look at it. His new film available there. We have Amerigeddon also available, breaking down, one of these globalist takeovers of America from a fictional account. But True Legends, Unholy Sea, available at InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLife.com, is where you get 33% off some of the different products. We have a whole bunch of sales going right now, 23% off DNA Force. You can get big discounts also when you sign up for auto ship. You can get free shipping. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, and your purchase of the products that everybody really needs, like potassium iodine. That's the good iodine that everybody's thyroid needs. I'm not saying in case of a nuclear attack, but obviously it's integral for that. It's just needed for good health. InfoWarsLife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139. But I'll be honest with people. I've gone from saying I think that there is a possibility of a nuclear war and total financial collapse, either or both, to a probability, to a certainty of at least global meltdown. And a good chance of nuclear war or limited exchanges, because when you have the Pentagon going, we can survive a first strike, or maybe nuclear weapons aren't a big deal to use after all. And you've got all this talk, people saying, so what if nuclear reactors are leaking now? No need to clean it up. It's like they've already decided they're going to radiate the Earth, and maybe they've got some classified system they can remove radiation with, but we know the public's not getting it. I mean, I'm seeing crazy-eyed behavior. Steve Quayle, I want to go to calls here across the board. You as a great talk show host, and I don't handle any question, but what do you make of what I just laid out, sir?
Well, I would agree with you, Alex, 100%, but even go maybe another 100%, I'm going to up you 100%. There is too much posturing, placement of military equipment out of the theater of any type of a drill taking place all over the world. And from the guys who are in the world of communications and military communications who know all this stuff, they want to know the frequencies. They want to know who's doing it. Well, let me tell you this. When people are picking up all over the hams and shortwave operators around the world such nervousness that even in authentication codes, people are screwing up, and the command has to come on and say, that's not correct. Correcting. I mean, people don't get the pucker factor off the charts because it's
Let's be clear. There's massive increases in backup systems because they're preparing for the internet and power to go dark, and then they're preparing to go to Morse codes, and the whole backup systems, the deep earth, transmission systems, ultra low frequency to submarines, you name it.
Yeah, everything. But here's something that people don't understand. The Daily Mail carried a story 3 days ago, you probably saw it, that GPS satellites are having problems.
Oh, yeah. A whole bunch of satellites have gone out. They don't know why. You said last time you were on, the Chinese were getting ready to attack our satellites. I forgot you said that.
Yep, and here's the thing. That's ASAT weaponry, anti-satellite weaponry. That's another. That is the preliminary event that takes place. What did that force our military do? Put up a bunch of high-altitude balloons, 66,000 feet, to bounce signals off balloons. You mentioned it, our ultra-low frequency that communicates with subs. All of our communications are based on the ability to transmit and receive. I'll tell you one thing that's interesting. When Henry Groover had his vision, a guy that's probably got the most accurate vision, when God showed him Russia attacking the United States. Now, listen, this was 2 decades ago, okay? The thing that he was showing is that all the radio towers, all the communication within our military was failing, and we could not get our launches off. By the way, here's the most serious thing. I want to address some of the trolls out there just to say this. You are absolutely stuck in normalcy bias. You do not move as much material, state-of-the-art, front-line equipment to areas, especially on the border of NATO and especially off the coast. We got so many boomers, that's nuclear submarines, from China, Russia, ours. Everybody's out there, and Alex, again, all it takes is somebody bumping in. But there's never been anything like this. That's why I'm beyond, the position of now I think it's a possibility. No, I am saying this. It is now a definite time to know that whoever blinks first or blinks last is going, whoever fires first is going to win. Whoever
And let's be clear, this is all because Russia doesn't want to be encircled and have jihadists turn loose.
Right.
And again, 4 years ago, our military, it's now been declassified, it's been leaked. Cy Hirsch came here and confirmed it earlier this year that we were right with our sources, which is a big hat tip. It's Pulitzer Prize winner, folks. He doesn't think InfoWars is kooky. He came on and said, no, you're right. the military basically had a soft coup against Obama and said no. The problem is he's fired them all, put them all, new ones in that'll do it, and notice the generals that were in there before, they go and they work for Trump. And they're the ones saying, stop World War III, we got to take America back. They're trying to start a war with Russia, and they're behind the jihadists. It's not that General Flynn is a Russian agent. He successfully fought the Russians and defeated them in the Cold War. He understands that this is an evil plan.
Well, and it's an evil thought and an evil plan. That's even a biblical word, okay? An evil plan. So here's where we're at. I'm telling people, watch what goes on in the embassies, okay? Watch the rhetoric increase. Watch direct, not indirect, but direct announcements from Putin. I guess he's going to make, in my opinion, he will make 2, possibly 3 direct announcements. They're going to the UN to say stop this madness. But the United
And by the way, a huge Russian flag got unveiled with Putin on it on the New York bridge by the UN today saying peacemaker. So that's obviously a message.
Right. And so what we're going to see here, and this is something that is astonishing to me. I just want to read my response, Alex. It's a 1-sentence response to somebody who's named Tomb or something. Russia has drills every year. And now listen, my response, not with 40 million evacuated and all the prepositioning of Russian military assets out of their exercise area. My answer, your denial will kill you. You are frightened and hiding behind normalcy bias, dumb unto death. You know, when I coined that term, people got offended. Well, I'd rather offend them and provoke them to really take a hard look.
Well, Putin a year ago said to the media, he said, why can't I get it through to you that this is moving towards nuclear war? What is wrong with you people? How do I get you to snap out of it?
Absolutely. But see, can I tell you something? You look at Russia and you look at the determination in World War II, you say one word, Stalingrad, you look at what is absolutely a fact of history. You know, you can't go in and take Russia, and if our highest technology, you know, stuff that most people don't even know exists, TR3s, TR3 Bravos, all the stuff that's so advanced, but remember this, no matter what technology is put into play, there is always counter technology. We used to think that because...
Well, how does it affect the globalists? We know they got a program to go completely automated and autonomous so they can cut humans out. Our military... 99%, I mean, they hate Obama, they hate Hillary, they know the program. How does that affect this?
Well, first of all, they're going to be sacrificed, okay? Now look at this. Look at all the cutoff of funds of the military, and then look at all the buildup of funds internally in this country. Look at all the United Nations. Look, it takes money to bring in foreign soldiers.
And by the way, look at it. I never used to actually think UN troops, but now it's like the UN will run our elections, the UN will run our police, the UN will do black reparations, literally with indigenous groups inside trying to stir up rebellion. This really is probing for a takeover. I mean, I've studied military history. This is like we're living in a frickin' science fiction movie, Steve.
Absolutely, but...
I get it. They tricked the Russians into hitting us. What about false flagging and saying the Russians did it?
Well, I wouldn't put it past that. You've detailed in all your videos and all the different amounts of shows you've done on this. False flags are a normal preceding event to take place.
Well, what needs to happen is George Soros, Obama, Hillary, we've got to have, you know, what's ever left of the government, they've got to be stopped now. I mean, Hillary's totally above the law. They're butchering everything. The borders are wide open, Steve. And I'm not a guy that wants to have some fight or a civil war, but somebody's going to have to stop them before they start World War III.
Well, and I believe the only one capable of doing that right now, seriously, Alex,
is God.
Is God, okay? And I believe that God wants his people, those who believe in him, on their knees.
Hey, I'll be honest, I'm almost ready to pack my kids up and get out to the country. I mean, you know, it's just getting bad.
Well, I would, and can I tell you something? Here's the point. Over the last 3 nights, I've been up at all hours of the morning. You know what it's like, posting stories, only to watch them take down my website. You know, I can't post some stories, but I want to share this. This is just coming in real time. Russian Foreign Ministry says Russia sees legal consequences in Secretary Kerry's comments about Russian war crimes in Syria. Russian war crimes? We're the ones that have funded ISIS, Al-Qaeda, everything you can, and there's not a word against the Christians being butchered.
This is all done on purpose to set us up in the world's eyes. None of it's on U.S. media. It's all over the world. The whole world knows it. Trump comes out and says it. The hell, he's a nut. You know, I don't want this to happen, but I look at the average evil, liberal, trendy that hates everybody and thinks they know everything. You know, I wonder what they're going to think, you know, if they survive the nuke strike and everybody's starving to death. I mean, is it going to be funny then?
Well, I think the bottom line is that they're going to have their Prozac meltdown. And seriously, you know, you can't.
You're right. You're right. The big bomb is after the city's collapse. A week later, it is going to be bedlam.
Right. Bill Fortune wrote 1 second after, and then he wrote 1 year after, okay? Well, I can only say this. Can you imagine a bunch of people on Prozac who are in the matrix with their whatever they're pressing, iPad, iPhone, this, that.
And it all turns off.
And it all turns off. And then the old Charles Bronson movie, Telephone, and I think they just made another movie equivalent to it, Samuel Jackson, you know, the movie about he gives out free cell phones and everybody goes crazy. You remember when we talked, this is important for people to understand, all those cell phone towers are not cell phone towers. They are absolutely...
And by the way, DARPA in one Baltimore Sun article 16 years ago admitted they were, quote, testing calming the public through cell phone tower frequencies.
Absolutely. So what do? They kick it in a certain frequency, everybody goes to sleep. I believe that's what's been on. They turn it the other direction, everybody goes to everybody's throats. So here's what I want to do, and we'll take all the phone calls you want to give, but people have got to recognize that this is the globalist plan. Look,
by the way, what you're saying is over the top, but I have the chairman Joint Chiefs, I have the head of the army, I have all these top Russian generals, I have Putin, 40 million people nuke drills, saying we're on the edge of war. I have Congress going, why don't you just blow these Russians up? And they go, they've been invited into Syria, so we've been told not to aid them anymore, but we're not going to attack them unless you want to go to war. And the general looks at him like he's crazy. Let me ask you this. We're going to break them back with calls. I promise, callers, I'm going right to you. You're troopers. Everybody that called in, I hate to do this to John. It's a big hassle. It's a free Hillary for President shirt. Or a bottle of colloidal silver for holding so long. I appreciate you. I apologize for making you hold so long. Steve Quayle, let me ask you this question. It seems like a great delusion. Like even people I talk to that are in government or even executives now, they seem like they're not awake or they're like retarded now. Like something like their soul's gone. People are noticing this everywhere. Like either you're more awake or people are like zombies now.
Well, absolutely. And we talked about there's so much technology out there for mind control. Look at DARPA. Brain mapping. Okay,
well, if there's all this mind control and they admit they have it, I've had, Dr. Megatron like you have all the patents. Well, why are we able to do this?
Because when you have a hunger for truth, they that hunger and thirst after righteousness, God promises us that we'll have what we seek for. When you believe a lie, Alex, it cuts you off. Now, look, we've got
exactly. It's a virus. Once you believe the one lie, it domino effects.
Absolutely. And people don't yet understand the full effects of what I would call subatomic vibrations. And, all the stories coming about how much storage you can put in a strand of DNA and even in water molecules, bigger than anything that the NSA has or they probably have.
Exactly. Every cell is 1,000 times more complex than what the globalists have built. They think they're God. Stay there. I promise. Absolutely. Chris, you're up first, then Tim, then Steve, then Cindy, then August. We got folks who talk about Trump and globalism. That's a perfect segue. Why they hate Trump so much. He wants to end this doomsday situation that we're going down. I mean, he's mainly advised by General Flynn, who exposed our government running Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Trump is amazing, folks, just for that alone. Chris in Georgia, you're on the air with Steve Quayle of SteveQuayle.com. Join us this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m., right through 10 o'clock with our debate coverage, infowars.com/show. Go ahead, Chris.
Yes, hello, Alice. It is a pleasure speaking with you today.
You too, brother. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm an LGBT Trump supporter, and I have to say, Alice, being in high school, it is a living hell supporting Trump and being LGBT. I have 3 points for you. One is, what if Trump gets too hardcore in debates? So hardcore that they can't even cope with it. What do you think will happen? Will they face something? Also, no doubt we know the New World Order will fall. But if he wins and they say that the election fraud took place and tell us how the results, what will happen? And about Russia, how worried are you about nuclear weapons being used and how possible is it?
Well, sure, we've been talking. Those are all great questions. Let me ask Steve Quayle this. It kind of composites what you just said. Why are they so afraid of Trump? And what would you say if you were Trump in the debate, Steve Quayle?
I would go for Hillary's throat. He was too passive. The bottom line, he's got to stick to the things from Fast and Furious, Benghazi. He's got to stick to emails. He's got to stick to
IRS persecution, the Clinton blood scandal.
Destabilization, the killing of Muammar Gaddafi, the killing of, look, she has whored out this country. You cannot raise billions of dollars, and there's lists on the internet who contributed to this, who contributed to that, and the hypocrisy of it all is astounding. When you look at the FBI, the Department of Justice, those who are charged, listen, Alex, we are in what the Bible calls a time of lawlessness. They call it the mystery of iniquity.
Yeah, you think of lawlessness as maybe some guy drunk on the street, okay, and people partying on New Year's. Real lawlessness is when the courts are totally corrupt and the supposed investigators have been bought off.
Absolutely, and when we're dealing with the whole thing, when the head of the FBI, it's got to be problematic for the men in the FBI, because there's good men in the FBI, just like there's good men in the government. But like the Border Patrol guy.
By the way, I agree with you. I'm shocked by the most awake people in the federal government, like Border Patrol, FBI, you name it. That's why I'm saying we don't do a civil war with them. The evil is on top. So what do we do?
Well, here's what we do. We have to get people absolutely not only voting, but they have to challenge the mainstream media. They have to challenge...
I agree. What do you think of folks going out screaming Bill Clinton's a rapist on TV?
Well, I think it's accurate. Look at what they're doing to Bill Cosby, not to excuse him in any way.
No, but what he did was, picking up bunny girls, at topless bars, and they claim he gave them a drug. Okay, maybe he did. He's bad. Throw him in prison. Bill Clinton rapes the hell and beats women.
Absolutely. And, look, you got eyewitness testimony. The woman that sleeps with a man of Clinton's power and, sexual appetite is going to hear a lot of things. It's like when Jennifer Flowers wrote her book, and when Broderick, and look, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, these women
He has settled cases. Stay there. We're going to break. Chris, thank you. Great points. Right when we come back with Steve Quayle, always on fire, more than ever, because the world's so crazy. Stay with us. Your call's for
It's Friday, October 7th, 2016. Only 31 days from the historic election. You're listening to Alex Jones.
This is GCN, the Genesis Communications Radio Network.
Alex Jones here to tell you about how you can help spread liberty worldwide while also enjoying what I have found to be the best tasting 100% organic coffee on the planet. For more than a decade, my favorite coffee has come from the high mountains of southern Mexico, where the Chiapas farmers grow their unique shade-grown Arabica beans. We have now managed to secure these sought-after beans in a highly customized blend. Discover and try a bag of the Patriot Blend 100% organic coffee at InfoWarsLife.com. This coffee gives you a long, smooth pick-me-up for hours without the headaches and heartburn that so many other coffees give me personally. Hands down, this is my favorite coffee, and it's taken us years to secure connections directly to the Chiapas Mexican farmers. Drop by the site today, order a bag or two, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Available in original or with our immune support infusion blend. You will be supporting a free press, all the while enjoying a truly great-tasting cup of my favorite coffee. Available at InfoWarsLife.com.
You're listening to The Alex Jones Show. Waging war on corruption.
All right, I'm Alex Jones.
It's Alex Jones.
Your host, Steve Quayle. SteveQuayle.com is our guest. We sell his latest book and films at InfoWarsStore.com. They're very, very thought-provoking. I wanted to get through these calls because I want to ask Steve about, again, I hate to sit there and kiss his butt. It's just that I'll be honest, and I've said this. He's going to have to be quiet on the calls, but I would have him on because he was so interesting, and I liked him. And I knew a lot of stuff he said was true 20 years ago. He's one of the first guests out on radio 21 years ago. He was a nice guy. He'd come on, routinely. But after 4 or 5 times, he goes, "Look, kid, you keep questioning everything I'm saying. Just read my book. I come on, but not every week. I'll see you later." And he was talking about chemtrailing, geoengineering, all this stuff, and I thought, this is crazy. And he gets into some stuff today I think is over the top, just because I haven't seen it myself. But I'm just sitting there thinking about all the things he talked about so long ago and how the elite believe there's another dimension and how they want to create a whole nother dimension and force us into a matrix. And then a few years later, documents came out saying that, and now all the big billionaires, they're just all over the place saying, oh, this is a false dimension, an evil God is controlling us. We're going to build a new dimension and break out of it, and top scientists are working around the clock. This is exactly what you said 20 years ago. They want to break into a dimension and escape with Stargates, and I'm like, Steve, don't talk about that on my show. Now they're on the news every night. Where did you get all this stuff?
Bible and from, I believe, the inspiration. Look, here's the thing. As a Bible-believing Christian, all you have to do is read the book of Revelation, the book of Daniel, Isaiah, Ezekiel, from the prophets to understand what would be in there. But I made it a habit, Alex, to pray and seek God. And look, here's the thing. We're watching the foundations of this country. They're destroyed. What it says is, what can the righteous do? And that's what your frustration, my frustration, and all of our frustration is what can we do? When the wicked rule, the righteous mourn. That's the spirit of heaviness. George Norrie asked me that. He said, man, there's this feeling. You may have listened to it if you didn't, but I was on the other night, and I said, look, there's a spirit of heaviness.
No, I feel it every day. It is incredibly heavy to know this.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to admit it to yourself, but you know you've got to be honest about it.
Right, and there's too much dishonesty. Listen, let's make it easy. The Bible declares that pretty much a third of the population is going to be destroyed. You do the math, it's about half the population. We talk about the Georgia Guidestones. We can quote Prince Philip Cousteau. We can quote all of the old guys that are dead now, what they want to do, Soros' plan and everything. Ask yourself this, who protects George Soros? Here's what I'm praying. I think this could make a difference. I'm praying that the war that's gone on in Russia, whether they're going to release everything they know about Hillary and Obama, at least they would have presented the truth. And I think the world, once Russia were to do that, and by the way, Alex, they've openly talked about that. Remember? Will Russia release all of the, formerly KGB files now?
That's right, because a whole bunch of foreign governments have all of Hillary's emails. They have them. Why haven't they released them?
Well, they won't release them yet because
Trump has even come out and said, Russia, please release them.
Right. And, well, here's the deal. There will come a point, that may be a signal marker, too. It behooves the Russians to cover the traitors that have sold us out to them. But when the Russians find out that the traitors have sold them out to the New World Order, and Putin's got a long memory. Now, look, I'm not a Russophile. But what I'm saying
the Russians have a lot of corruption. They've infiltrated our government. Hillary's involved. Exactly. That's why they're so freaked out. Hillary, we've given you hundreds of millions of dollars that we know of, probably billions. You sold your country out to us partially. Why are you starting a war with us? That's why they're so freaked out, because she's a mad dog.
I think the answer is a house divided can't stand. Listen, it's a matter of double cross, quadruple cross, and octocross, okay? In other words, everybody is going to fight for their power.
Everyone's so Machiavelli that they lose the narrative and then just are actually mental midgets because they don't just have honor and do the right thing.
But look you can go on the front page of Matt Drudge's website, Drudge Report, and look at how many weird people are coming. The demons are loose. That's why Tom Horn and I write about Stargate. That's why, and Alex, you're selling the DVD, The Unholy Sea. That people have got to get that. It's like a roadmap. You just went through a litany of stuff I've been right about, and I think it's important that people get that DVD from InfoWars store.
Sure, well, here's the deal. Even if you're not right about everything or I'm not right about everything, the elite believe what you're saying. They're just on the other side. They are. We're living in a science fiction movie. Tim, you're straight ahead. So is Stephen and others. Stay with us.
Mr. Trump, you've got 5 things to say, 10 things to say, and what you do, and by the way, whenever you go on any TV show, listen to me, I know what I'm talking about. You're going to say what you want to say, irrespective of what they ask you. And if they don't ask you, say, it's funny, that reminds me. And then you go right into it.
Absolutely.
He never even talked about immigration. The thing that brought him to the dance, he never even talked about. Number 2, he's got to understand that he has a plan. He beat soundly 16 of the best and the brightest of the Republican Party, coming to senators, governors, including a brain surgeon, an actual brain surgeon. He didn't go out there slamming Hillary Clinton. He gave them a vision, and he talked about basically a couple of things: illegal immigration and the sense of crime and losing. I would teach Donald Trump like a kata. Whether you do Krav Maga or any kind of martial arts, when they do this, you do this. When she brings up, or anybody brings up bankruptcy, you can say, hey, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. By the way, that's a great tactic. Whenever you tell your opponent, I'm glad you brought that up, That's not good. Let's talk about this thing called bankruptcies, okay? Because, you know, it's funny you say that. And I want to talk to you, all you millennials, by the way, who were hosed by Bernie Sanders, who aren't necessarily going to vote for Hillary Clinton out of default, but who have been completely abandoned by this corrupt and venal system. I want to talk to you about this thing called whitewater. Once upon a time, there was something so big that the governor of Arkansas went to prison, that people were indicted.
Tim in California, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, Alex.
Welcome, my friend.
Hey, I'd just like to go ahead and first of all thank all the InfoWars listeners and your staff for doing a bang-up job. They're always on top of things. I'd like to go ahead and say about Donald Trump, he needs to get out there on Sunday at this debate, and he needs to go for the jugular, Alex. He really needs to knock this thing out of the park. He needs to put Hillary on her heels and, you know, end this once and for all.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that, Tim. I mean, what's your gut level analysis of Trump, Steve?
Well, I think he's been raised up literally to be the prosecuting attorney to show people the level of debauchery, treason, evil, wickedness, go on and on and on.
And then if we judge wrong, we go under judgment.
Yeah, and the simple fact is, Alex, is that, look, America has lived in the delusion. That's why, you know, whatever 50% or whatever can vote for Hillary, etc. The point is, going beyond mind control, the same people that hate Donald Trump are the same people you and I have been speaking about for 25 and 21 years on the air. A man is known more by his enemies than by his friends. Just look at George Soros.
The communist Chinese, Soros, the evil Wahhabist. I mean, Trump's wonderful.
And I got to tell you something again. Now the feminists are taking on his daughter, who's, you know, beautiful and brilliant, for talking about how she basically loves being a mother in the most important job in the world. I mean, look, here's the thing: the commies, the communists, the pinkos.
By the way, while she runs a business that she personally made over $300 million in and kept over $100 million.
So, you know, here's the thing.
Let me tell you, if a woman isn't obsessed with her kids, there's something wrong with her.
Yeah, and also the thing is look at the rest of the world. The Muslim, the mullahs are saying that our women's wombs will be our conquering armor. Army. And look at what's happening to American sperm count. Look at what's happening to the military. There was that picture you probably saw.
We're under chemical attack. Them wearing red shoes.
Yep. And the four transgenders. You know, here's the deal. Even the lesbian gay community should be furious at what happens with ISIS. Man, they're throwing them off rooftops.
But that's okay because it's liberal. It's part of the loving agenda. Tim, great points. Let's go ahead and talk to Steve in Florida. You're on the air with Steve Quayle.
Yeah, hey, good afternoon. You know, you guys have been talking about Trump and Hillary. And, Alex, you said something in the first hour in reference to Bill Clinton. You said, "You pig." And then Steve said Trump needs to go for the throat. And then this last caller said he needs to go for the jugular. I want to give you what I believe is the perfect strategy for Trump in this coming debate. And it's two words, and this will resonate with you: hog hunting. And here's what I'm getting at. A friend of mine years ago, I've never been hog hunting, but he told me that the way he does it, and I've lived in Texas, is he has 3 dogs that he has trained to go after that hog. And by the way, Bill is the swine, but Hillary is the razorback, okay? But here's the thing. He said he has 3 dogs to distract that hog, and then he comes around from behind with the blade and gets it right in the throat. So here's what Trump needs to do. He needs to bring out the 3 dogs. Number 1, emails. Number 2, Benghazi. Number 3, Saudi support. And then the dagger, the handle is, I want to remind you, in Beijing, China, Hillary went there in 93 to the UN Conference on Women. China is the most cutthroat nation, other than the Saudis and the Islam as a whole, when it comes to women, with their 1 child per family policy, how they drug and they torture and they kill women, over 400 million dead because of that policy. And then the blade is Hillary, the enabler of her sexual psychopath husband, Bill, right in the throat. That will seal it for Trump.
I agree, and he's got people in there advising him to play nice who are probably operatives. or complete.
Operatives, Alex, they're being paid to do that. I agree with the caller. It's absolutely imperative. Remember this: the way the liberals always work is to just run you with obscure stuff that keeps the
factoids, little b exactly.
You got it. And basically, they want to put.
Hey, you know why they won't have me on national TV? Because I don't follow their script. I totally ignore them and take over.
I had a call. And I've watched you, and I have certain Fox people call me, and they say we'd love to put you on, but our leadership and our management won't allow it. Of course not. That's the same reason they won't allow Michael Savage on. Michael Savage, you've had him on. Kudos for that. He's a brilliant man. Trump better put him into his.
They threatened to take him completely off the air. We need to shut up. So that's all been going on. Very serious time. Great point, Steve. Both Steve in Florida and Steve out west, Steve Quayle. We're almost out of time here. August in Arizona, go ahead.
Yes, Alex, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, August. Thank you.
I just wanted to say you guys are amazing. I love hearing Steve talk about the Lord. I love hearing about his faith. I have some dots that I wanted to connect as quickly as possible for you, and I'll just go ahead and start. I can't believe that I've never heard you talk about Kathy O'Brien. Now, Kathy O'Brien is married to Mark Phillips. If you go on YouTube and you type in Kathy O'Brien with the C, ex-Illuminati mind control victim, and you go to...
I have interviewed her a few times more than 15 years ago. And my only issue is, how do you prove it? There's not photos. There's not, I know the elite. No one cares about the Lolita Express and hundreds of little kids, admittedly, or the Catholic Church or Sandusky when it's proven. So kind of everybody just interviewed her thousands of times over and over again, and she talks about being a mind control slave for sex. Well, that's been declassified that the CIA did that. So I'm just like, okay. It's kind of like, why don't I cover the fact that opium production skyrocketed when the U.S. took over Afghanistan? It's admitted. I just don't know about her particular case. I know that goes on.
Okay. Yeah. If you do go to the YouTube video and you go to 1 hour, 9 minutes, 39 seconds, you can hear her talk about how Hillary admitted that she would like to take advantage of her, and Bill didn't want to, and that actually Bill was more of a homosexual back in the 70s, and that she testifies to seeing him do that. But besides that, I wanted to...
Yeah, but here's the deal, bro, here's the deal. I'm not saying she's full of prunes. There are schizophrenics online that claim they're married to me and that I raped them, okay? There are people that claim I'm a 7-foot lizard. So all I'm saying is no one ever wants to cover the admitted CIA program and real people, or Dr. Ewing Cameron and thousands of kids that were kidnapped. That's on the Discovery Channel or History Channel. They always just go to this person or that person and then this big list of things. And so I have to document things, but I appreciate your call. You want to get into Kathy O'Brien here, Steve Quayle?
I'll just say this. I did that whole thing, too, about 15 years ago, and mind control is real. Sexual predators are real. You look at who Bill Clinton hung out with, Epstein. You look at all this stuff. But here, that's not, can I tell you something? It's not that it's old news, but we're talking right now, and this isn't a rebuke, it's just a restatement of facts. We're talking about World War III fulfilling the globalist determined plan to take the population of the world down to 500 million. Now,
and by the way, that sounds crazy, but our top generals and their top generals are saying we're on the verge of World War III, the worst ever, no-fly zones, threatening each other, Congress saying attack the Russians, and then the average American just has no idea this is going on.
Yeah, and I'm getting emails to that. Well, you guys are just trying blah, blah, blah. Alex, when someone has spent the years you've spent, I've spent, and others have spent, the bottom line is that you do 9, 10, 12,000 hours, however many you've done, way more than I have. But when you spend, in my case, almost half my life at this, and the idea that we're not, being up and up, people will deny it. Look, I'm sorry, but the only thing that will wake them up is something that's so catastrophic, so off their radar. Look, I know about Deutsche Bank. I live in that world of finance and what's going on. And I've interviewed...
Sure, I know, but it's not bad. They're on the call. They bring up the issue. I think it's fine he did. But, here's an example. Bill Clinton has settled sexual assault cases I've interviewed 3 women that say he raped him, including one that had witness that came in 2 minutes after with her bloody in the hotel room. And, you know, I've got people out all over the country saying Bill Clinton's a rapist with my name on it. So I get the fact I'd had Kathy O'Brien on because I can't prove it one way or the other. We're going to have some really big people on next week. Get ready for that. I'm just going to stop right there. But Bill Clinton is a rapist. Trump supporter crashes Tim Kaine rally. So, you know, we're doing as much as we can. Absolutely. I just cannot go off stuff that is not documented. You know, I've got to go off him settling a rape case, an assault case. Then I can come out and say, you know, he settles rape cases and accuse him of being a rapist. I know this, Steve, he's certainly raping the Constitution.
Well, the Constitution doesn't mean anything. When George Bush Jr. took the name of the Lord in vain and said it's just a blank, blank, blank
piece of paper,
and now you come out and see, hey, Alex, when you were talking about the Bush dynasty, the Clinton crime family, and now we get, you know, them all admitting, including the daughters, are voting for Hillary, well, you know, what does that say? It means we have been under the rule and reign of terror of dynastic family.
That's right, and this family's, the Clintons and the Bushes, the vacation together, whatever they're really doing at Bohemian Grove or whatever, it's all coming down and they know it and they're scared. And they're kind of threatening the world with World War III. As the general said, you're not leaving Russia, you're not leaving UK, you're not leaving countries in Europe, America, you're not leaving. He's admitting he works for the New World Order.
Absolutely, and where we're at right now is you can deny or you can prepare, okay? You can assault those who are trying to give you the message, or you can maybe take it to prayer, and you can make it a matter of put it scales before your eyes. Are you, Alex Jones, and me, Steve Quayle, giving enough evidence to tell people they better look beyond the obvious, because it's the power brokers and their lapdog vomit brokers, that's the mainstream media, that are preparing a meal for you that will turn out to be you're the meal. They don't get it. It's like the Morlocks and the Eloi of the time machine. And by the way, that was meant to wake the people.
Sure, he wrote a book called The New World Order, and admitted it was an allegory of what was really going on. H.G. Wells.
Yep.
We're almost out of time. I'm going to hand the baton to David Down here in a moment, but let's go to Cindy in Pennsylvania, one of the key battleground states. A lot of calls from Pennsylvania. Cindy, you're on the air. Thanks for calling in.
Hi, Alex. Hi, Steve.
Hello.
I think we really got to ramp it up out here. Us warriors got to do a lot more to get Trump elected. Number one, we got to leave a paper trail at the election. Since they're monitoring it, I recommend that when people go and they sign that paper that they match with the registration, when they sign the paper, sign your name, after your name, write in Trump. Then when they add up all the machines, whatnot, those machines better match those sign-in papers. Number two, I would like to see billboards going up in minority areas with a big liver spot face of George Soros, huge, and on the other side it's saying, the man behind Black Lives Matter. Do you really want to follow this man?
Good idea. Appreciate the call. Cindy, any comments, Steve Quayle?
Well, I agree with that, and I agree with there are people proposing that they should wear red shirts. There are people that should immediately, when the press is at any polling station, they should go up to the press and say, I want you to know I voted for Donald Trump. We get everybody doing that, and then there's going to be plenty of, I would say, confrontation.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. The number one thing is show the dominance at exit polls in the key battleground states. Go ahead.
Well, I think, Alex, we're right on the countdown. Look, these people, let me say this, the power that's been stolen in this country from the people to destroy the people will never be given back to the people outside of a miraculous intervention of God. And people, like the previous caller said, manning up, standing up. And by the way, I salute all the women out there who are prayer warriors and are activists. Never in my life have I seen the male species, outside of the people.
Well, I mean, the sperm's down 90+%. We're getting hit with chemicals. They admit it.
Well, yeah, they used to talk about a sperm count. Now, basically, they have to talk about invisible sperm.
That's right. Listen, we're out of time. SteveQuayle.com. We carry your new book and your new film dealing, of course, with the whole Vatican deception and the unholy see. Very powerful. Again, not bashing Catholics, folks, but what's openly this new Pope saying go after free speech, shut down conspiracy theorists. It's all the same talking points as Hillary. Evil is moving. This is a critical time in history. InfoWarsStore.com to get those films. InfoWarsLife.com to get the nutraceuticals. SteveQuayle.com to also find all his books and all his films. Steve, thank you. Let's all, again, pray tonight for peace and for the world to wake up and to pull back from this. But definitely with all the top generals saying nuclear war never closer, we've been vindicated. I really don't want to be vindicated with mushroom clouds. Steve, thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Bye-bye.
All right, that's